Okay, so module 4. So we talked about exponents. Now we're going to go into polynomials, which is a big chunk of this unit. Okay, so one thing we want to make sure we can do is identifying a polynomial by its degree and terms. And then we're not going to really add or subtract given a polynomial. That is the second part, but that is the main part of your polynomials. So what is a polynomial? It is an expression made with constants, variables, and exponents, which are combined using addition, subtraction, and multiplication, okay, division, but there is a key with this, okay? All exponents have to be positive, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., and you cannot divide, okay? So there is no division of variables, okay, when you are looking at a polynomial. So here is an example of your polynomials. 7x squared minus 9x plus 5, 20x minus 9, 2x to the fourth minus x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6. So again, you're noticing that these are all positive exponents. It's all a singular line, okay? And I'm adding and subtracting those terms. So non-examples. So 9x to the negative fifth. This is not a polynomial. The reason, okay, so one is we kind of simplified it. All exponents have to be positive. You can't have division. So you could just accept that, but why is this? Okay, so if you remember with exponent, it's negative on top. That means it was positive on the bottom. So that means the same thing. So I'm dividing here. So I'm dividing by variables. You can't divide by variables. Okay, that does not make it a polynomial. And then again here, this is not an example because you have those variables in that denominator. So again, with polynomials, they are just on the line and your exponents are positive. Okay, so let's look a little bit more vocab. So your term of polynomials, this is each part that is being added or subtracted. So if I look here, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 terms that are being added or subtracted. So this has 3 terms. Your coefficient of polynomials. These are the number in front of each variable in each term. So we've talked about coefficients before. It's just the number in front of the letter. No different. 2, -1, 3. Technically -6. I could think about this as x to the 0. Remember, anything to the 0 power is 1, and 1 times anything is itself. So you got that there. Okay. So let's look at here. So here we have a polynomial. One thing you're going to do, and again, this is not that big part of your lesson, but it's good to understand the introduction to it. So when I have to answer these questions, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in standard form. And what that means is I'm just going to go from the biggest exponent to the smallest. So how I would rewrite this is 10x to the fifth minus 9x squared plus 7x. So again, I took this and all I did was rearrange it to make the highest exponent first, all the way down to descending order. So you want to make sure you do that if you're answering any questions about a polynomial. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look. So I want to know, what is the leading coefficient of a polynomial? Well, that's going to, remember, coefficient is the number in front of the letter, and they want the leading one. So this is why you have to put it in standard form first. So my leading coefficient is 10. Didn't show it very well. So that is 10. Okay, the degree of the term. Okay, so your degree of the term, so how many terms does it have? It has 3 terms. And the degree of the polynomial, that means what is the highest exponent? So that would be 5. Okay, so again, the degree of the term, how many, just think about how many terms. And the degree of the polynomial, what is the highest exponent? Okay, that's what you want to think about it, like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at how we're going to name these. So how you name them is going to be based off how many terms. So naming name of polynomials by number of terms. So if we have 1 term, this is called a monomial. So mono meaning 1. And examples of that would be like 3x squared, 7xy, x, 8. Okay, so just you have one term. The next one would be you have two terms, so binomial, bi meaning 2. So an example of those would be like 5x plus 1, 3x squared minus 4, x plus y. So again, I have two terms. Your three terms, so if we're looking at three terms, that is a trinomial. Okay, so again, three terms. So that could be like 7x squared plus 2x minus 10. Okay, you see the three terms there. Since I always give one, I'll give one more. So we could say 5x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus 7x squared. Again, I'm just making these up. As you notice, they have three terms. Okay, this one shouldn't be here. The next one is just 4 terms or higher. Okay, and if it's 4 terms or higher, this is what you call a polynomial. So a little weird because that's the broad term of everything, but if it's 4 or more, we just call it a polynomial. So remember, poly means many, so that's why you get that. So again, it's just going to be 4 more terms. So let's say I could have 10x to the 6th minus 3x to the 4th plus 2x plus 1. Okay, so again, I have 4 terms there. So 4 or more terms. Okay, so that's how you name it by the term. Next thing we're going to look at is naming it by the degree. So again, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at that highest degree. That's why you want to put it in standard form. So the degree, so if you notice here, this is in standard form. We're going from biggest exponent to smallest. So what are they called? So if it's a degree of 0, that is a constant, so just a number. So for example, 7, -10, 8. If it's a degree of 1, this is called a linear function. Okay, so I know module 2, we talked about linear functions where you guys were graphing those lines. The highest exponent was 1 there. So again, that'd be something like 3x minus 2, that good old mx plus b form. If you have a second degree, this is called a quadratic. And when we're factoring, and especially module 5, we go into quadratics. Okay, so that is our big part for module 5, where we'll be studying quadratic functions. So an example of that would be like 7x squared minus 3x plus 6. Or 4x squared minus 1, again, because I'm looking at that highest exponent. It has nothing to do with how many terms there are. It's just what the highest degree of that exponent is. Okay, if you have a third degree, that is called a cubic. So 8x cubed plus 5x plus 9, that's an example. Or 2x cubed minus 11. So a fourth degree, okay, not as, I mean, we don't talk about as much, but if you want to look at a fourth term, that is a quartic. So again, it'd be something like x to the 4th plus 3x squared, because again, that exponent. And then a fifth would be a quintic, not or higher. And again, an example of that, let's say we have negative 2x to the 5th plus 4x to the 4th minus 2. Okay, that's really all you have to know for this class. We don't have to go any higher than that. So again, keep these for your notes, because again, you can use your notes on all written assignments and your quiz. Okay. So again, looking at this, one way to remember about thinking about bicycles, monomial, is you have a monocycle, bicycle, tricycle if you want. That's one way to remember it. There you go with that. Okay, and then just, I'm not going to go over all of this with you. We'll just kind of do one or two of them. So the standard form of this, again, I'm going to write this in descending order. So this is negative 2x plus 5. My leading coefficient is negative 2. The highest degree is 1, because again, that you can do that implied 1. So if I'm naming it by the degree, it's 1, so that's a linear. And by term, there's 2. So again, that means that is a binomial. Okay, let's do another one. So standard form, we want to go in descending order. So 3x to the 4th plus 2x squared minus 4. My leading coefficient is 3. The degree is 4. So if I'm naming it by the degree, okay, that is a quartic. And there are 3 terms, so that is a trinomial. Okay, let's go to the next one. So I have negative 5x cubed minus x squared plus x plus 2. My leading coefficient is negative 5. The highest degree is 3. Remember, if it's 3, it is a cubic. And I see 4 or more terms, so that is just called a polynomial. Okay, negative 12. Well, that as is just negative 12. The leading coefficient is negative 12. The degree is 0. So remember, if it's a degree by 0, that is just a constant. And there's 1 term, so that is a monomial. Okay, last one here. So we have 6x squared minus 9x plus 7. My leading coefficient is 6. The degree is 2. So if I'm naming it by the degree, that is a quadratic. And by terms, there's 3 terms, so that is a trinomial. Okay, so this is your introduction to polynomials. What you're going to next is you're going to be looking at adding and subtracting them and multiplying, because that's going to help you get set up for the factoring for that third part of it. Okay, so again, key things here is you have your leading coefficient, the degree of the polynomial, and how many terms.